Hello, 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 and welcome to the Drag Race RuCap here on reality TV RHAPups. I'm your host, Liana Boraas, and today we're going to talk about episode 9 of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars Season 8. Let me bring in the fabulous panel, as always, here for you today. First, a woman who just feeling herself today. Isn't that right, Beth?
I'm feeling something today. I don't know if it's myself or no. I'm feeling good. I'm upset that I don't know as much about the fallout from this episode because my tweets were limited yesterday. So I'm really shocked and I don't really know what the temperature is out there. So I can't wait to discuss it with you guys and we can come up with our own temperature for this episode.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. How will we keep up with the drama?
I don't know.
Right?
Elon Musk is not thinking about those of us who want to watch drag queens fight online. Come on.
But like all of reality TV,
that too.
we were talking about this. Like, this man is going to have to be our correspondent when it comes to Big Brother in a month. Aman Adwin. Aman, how are you?
The curse of the blue check mark. What can I tell you? Yeah, I did not have any limited tweets as of yet, so I guess I did get to see how people were feeling a little bit about the outcome of this episode, and from what I can tell, a lot of people were like, well, comeuppance. So I'm glad to talk about it here today.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I actually want to start with that. Because we come from the reality TV social strategy world, right? We're talking Big Brother, we're talking Survivor. And like, it's so funny when we get these glimpses of it in the Drag Race world, because I think this comes down to Alexis Michelle's strategic decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to boil it down, it all starts when LaLa Ri saves Alexis. Okay, so LaLa Ri saves Alexis. Yep. Alexis does not save LaLa Ri, sends her home last week, assumed that Candy would have her back, and Candy votes to send her out. Now, Jimbo does win the lip sync and it doesn't matter, but still, I don't think that we want to let's not focus on that. Let's assume
and
it did
let's
go
also
to the group
focus
vote.
On the fact that Alexis would have been saved by the group and Lala would have also been voted out by the group. So it really, at the end of the day, it's not about who actually would have gone home. It's about the principle of the matter, right?
Well, but if Alexis had saved her, right, then, you know, if Alexis had saved Lala, so we get a little bit more information this week where Candy, I guess they said, Alexis said in her talking head that Candy made a deal with her. But Beth, like, this didn't really sound like a deal to me.
No, she's a victim to her own gameplay, which was that last week she didn't technically say that she would save Lala, right? But Candy never said that, from what we saw, that she would save her. All she said was, haven't I done so already? Which, again, for those of us that are, you know, Big Brother Survivor people, we're in our heads going, that's not a promise moving forward. That's just reflecting on things I've done in the past to make you feel good. Alexa, I would love Alexis to go into like a Big Brother house just because I think it'd be so entertaining for all the wrong reasons. And don't get me wrong, I love her. I love the television it creates. I thought this was great, whatever. And I love that people are sitting here praising Candy for the same shit that Alexis did last week. And I'm like, it's just because it's Alexis at the end of the day. But I love all this drama. I think this is great. I think it's making what kind of feels like a staler season a little bit more exciting towards the end. Clearly, because we also don't know how this is going to end as a season. So I'm taking this. I'm taking this little bit of drama and a little bit of like, well, this is what happens when you try to play a game, and there's really no game to be had because no one's playing it with you.
Yeah, I think that's sort of like where I'm at with it too. I think Alexis, I mean, kudos to her for trying to do what she could to stay. I felt like the gameplay towards the end during Untucked was just very, very risky and very, very messy. I mean,
oh my God,
she's sitting there and telling, who was it, Jessica. That her and Candy had something, but that she's willing to backstab Candy to save her.
And then pull your lipstick.
And then she goes to go talk with Jimbo, leaving Candy and Jessica to just potentially sit there and talk about what she just said. Like, it was very, very just all around. Just, you could sense that she was scrambling for anything and everything. And that's kind of like why I'm like, you really should have just taken the shot at Candy, because you knew, because Heidi and Closet sort of exposed how her, Candy, and Jimbo had something going on. Yes, Heidi sort of put like a little chink in the armor, but you kind of don't want to take that chance. Like if you keep Candy around so that she can continue to work with Jimbo, what's going to happen when you're in the bottom and Jimbo or Candy's in power? They're not going to send each other home. At least you would think that they would, maybe if Jimbo's in the bottom. But that's just not how it worked out, like, and if you had potentially sent one of them home weakening Jimbo, then maybe then you would have had a shot to stay, but nope.
Right. And I think that that's like what it boils down to, is that when you are thinking about who is going to be loyal to you, look at people's actions, not their words. And we talk about this again in Big Brother and Survivor all the time, that if someone actually uses the power of veto on you, somebody actually saves you, that's bigger than someone promising that they will or will not vote the way you want, right?
Exactly.
And so I think that that's what Alexis fell prey to, was that, Lala Ree had the action of saving her and decided to go with Candy instead. I mean, the thing is, they're both New York queens, so maybe there's something else going on there. But Beth, I'm super happy that you brought up the untucked moments, or one of you brought up the untucked moments, because oh my gosh, when Alexis, this is why I would love to see her on Big Brother. When Alexis was talking with Jessica, and essentially first implies that Candy is going to vote for you. Like, she's saying that, Candy and I made a deal last week, and she said that she would never pull my lipstick. So kind of like heavily implying that it's going to be Jessica. Candy's going to vote for Jessica. And then saying like, but I could never pull your lipstick. So then are you implying that you're going to vote for Candy to try to get Jessica to vote for Candy so that way there's no votes on you? Like, I'm just watching her play, trying to like work the room. I thought, oh my God, this is actually super fun. I want more content of this. Like Alexis just rambling.
I just think her biggest issue is that I think that when she is emotional, it comes across like she's putting it on rather than being genuine at this point, right? And I think we've seen her be genuinely upset, and it's been in moments where I think some people could perceive it as being petty and that kind of thing. And I think she's hyper aware of these kind of things. I really think that. And I truly do think the reason why she really wants to get close with Candy again was a purely professional, like, I want to get closer with this person who's in New York and maybe has closer connections to the people I want to work with on a professional scale or whatever, right? Like, that's what I'm thinking, because Alexis has always struck me as somebody who, like, the reason why she was good at Kris Jenner was because she wants to emulate that kind of like, how can I take advantage of every relationship to take me to the next place? That is what an inherent theater person is going to have to do too, right? So like, I've always just had this, and I don't fault her for that game. We all have to take advantage for networking stuff, and it's made some really entertaining television for me. So I have actively enjoyed it. But that said, she doesn't know how it comes across sometimes. And if she doesn't know the timing, like if she'd already had her moment talking with Jimbo and then was playing this little game where people didn't have the alone time, might have worked out better. If she had been more explicit and just saying, hey, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Last week, Candy and I made a deal. But here's the thing. I actually think Candy should be the one who goes home. And I want to work with you and see if that's where you were going to vote. If you were going to vote for me, then I understand. And I'll stick to my plan with Candy or see where Candy goes. I can't speak for how she's going to vote, but I'd be willing to work with you to get her out. Because I will say personally, contrary to what the judges said, and definitely contrary to what Candy herself says in Untucked and as they're going backstage, I definitely don't think she would have been the quote unquote safe queen of the roast. I think Jessica would have been, and she would have been in the bottom with Alexis. So I think it's really interesting to be able to, like, you can play that a little bit and go, by the way, Jessica, like, Candy's saying she's a bigger threat than you are. Like, there's definitely ways to play this out. Be like, let's get rid of somebody who doesn't value you in the competition. And I do. So,
yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it is what the queens have mostly voted on. It seems is the critiques, right? Because even sending Lala home for Alexis was like, well, Lala got the worst critiques compared to Candy. So, that could justify sending her home. And then this week, Alexis got the worst critiques. So it's like, well, at the end of the day, they're all still voting just based on who did well in the challenges. So.
Right.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Maxi Challenge and let's see if we agree with the judges. So this week, the queens were doing the Carson Kressley roast. So I've seen this before where the queens have the opportunity to roast not only the guest Carson, but as Rue, Michelle, as well as the other queens. All right. Where do we want to start with this? Let's talk highlights, Aman. Who was the biggest standout for you?
Definitely Jimbo served a lot here. I think it was a risky decision to embody Joan Rivers because you never want to go too overboard with it where it becomes like you don't take it as seriously. But I think, she just has Joan down so well and the jokes were very grounded that it worked out pretty decently. I also felt like Jessica did a good job. I felt like she really knows how. I think that Jessica is really, really good at timing, and we sort of saw that with the improv challenge where they were doing like the CSI Law and Order type deal. She just knows how to say a joke and give it a little moment to breathe, give them a moment to laugh, and then land the next line. So I thought that Jessica and Jimbo were definitely stood out to me. Candy was okay. I also felt like Candy was okay in the first roast challenge that she ended up winning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This whole narrative of like, I need to win again. I was like, did you really win the first time? But it's fine. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Man. No, I think I totally agree with you, Aman. I think Candy had the best, besides like Jimbo putting on Joan Rivers as a persona, I feel like Candy had the best roast tone. But the jokes weren't funny. Like they didn't back it up. They didn't match. So like she had like the attitude down fine. But then the jokes were like mid at best for me. I actually think her jokes were worse than Alexis's. But I think that Alexis just was like on eggshells the entire time. So Jessica, who was going there, knew what was going to make people laugh with the timing, but also is so self-aware enough to understand that she has a thicker accent and that some of the things are going to be inherently more funny if she slows it down and allows for breathing room. I really think Jessica shined here. And I think that Jimbo did an incredible job. You can't be that good at Joan Rivers and not do well at a roast. Like that's what Joan Rivers did all the time. So I definitely think they were the two standouts. That said, I don't think this was the worst roast of all time. I think all four of them were fine, at least.
Let's get this roast to cooking.
Oh man. You know what? Pheromone is so overshadows how bad Alexis was because of it. But when they showed the clips of Alexis being like, I'm wearing your favorite color.
Oh no.
I was like crawling in my skin. I was like, oh no, this isn't gonna be good, Alexis. No.
So awkward. Man. Oh man. Look, and that's the thing is that for Alexis, this was a huge improvement, I think, for her.
1,000%.
Because I echo what y'all are saying, that I don't think anybody did bad. I think that Alexis's jokes, because I was nervous, we got the rehearsal, which was fun. Michelle was there, Alex Mappa was there, and I think that they gave really good feedback in terms of edit. You're waiting too long to get to the punchline. I think she took that feedback, took those critiques, and implemented it in the final roast performance. I think two things were working against her. One, she opened the show. So that is, even if your jokes, which by the way, why would you put yourself first? Yeah, that was her decision too. She won last week and then had the option. Yeah, exactly. I mean, because you want the crowd to, because when you're already laughing, it's easy to continue to laugh. Like you're already so jovial and you just want to keep laughing. But going from cold, just sitting there, to warming them up, I feel like that was such a huge benefit for Jessica and Candy, who ended up going in that second and third slot. I think Jimbo, you absolutely have to put last. Nobody should go after Jimbo.
Unless you're trying to screw someone over.
That's true. I guess you could put Jimbo third and then put whoever you want to screw over fourth.
Which I guess in this situation, since you have this agreement with Candy in your mind, that would mean Jessica would have to go last. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think Jessica would have hurt the way that Candy or Alexis would have if they had to follow Jimbo. But
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think
lots of choices.
They were both both Jimbo and Candy, I think, or Jessica, I think were both so strong. So overall, yes, I agree with the general assessment. I think Alexis and Candy, I probably would have put in the bottom two if there were bottom two, and then I would put Jimbo and Jessica in the top. But I think I still would have given Jimbo the win just because. One, her Joan Rivers is so strong. Like from the Snatch game, when we got to see it on her first Canada season, like it was just so good. And I feel like her makeup looked even better this time when they showed the clip from last time to this time. So it's like, oh my gosh. And there's like improvement. And the editors really tried with the narrative of, oh, she's struggling. Is she going to be able to do it?
They tried.
They really tried. But it's like, is Jimbo going to be able to tell jokes?
As Joan Rivers, who she nailed it last time, I don't know.
I think that's the thing, especially having seen now 2 Snatch Game performances from her and seeing her crush those. I was like, I'm not really worried, but
Did you guys think the same thing I did, which is that Jimbo purposely was like, let me make some really intellectual jokes to bring to Michelle and Alec, and just pretend like I can't. Oh man, these are two. Oh no. And produce yourself because you have the jokes in the bag.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because I felt similarly during the design challenge when we know that she knows how to design, but she was bumbling around the workroom, acting as if she was going to be procrastinating up until the very last moment, but then ended up being arguably one of the best. So, yeah.
Maybe she learned from the lemon moment, right? When in UK versus the world, I can never remember which her second season was, when she was like, there's no way I'm sending Lemon home. But then they made her be like, well, maybe
we need some tension. And she's like, oh, I haven't made my mind up yet.
I have no idea what I'm gonna do. Save my sister or someone I just met. Like, what am I gonna do? So maybe this is Jimbo just sort of really playing into that. Although I'm thinking about what were her two. So she had 2 jokes, I think, from the rehearsal. One was Jessica's such a whore. You have to cross her legs, or you have to
fuck her with her legs
closed. Yeah. Because when you close things, it gets tighter. That was funny.
That was funny.
My favorite was that Michelle didn't get it. And that to me was the joke. The joke was the fact that Michelle's like, I'm going to have to try that. And we're like, no shit, Michelle. That's so funny that you don't understand that.
Yeah. I mean, because to me, okay, so then if we talk about her so I can't remember what the other one was in the rehearsal, but the joke about Candy being such a bitch, she has to sniff your hand before she trusts you. That took me a second. I think that was pretty intellectual as well. Maybe I'm just stupid because I was a dog, a bit it took me a second. So I don't know. I thought, yes, it was a little bit less intellectual perhaps in the actual roast, but I didn't think it was all that different. Okay. So let me just go in on Jimbo and go in a good way, because I absolutely loved her roast. I thought it was so funny. I always love a good hooked on phonics joke. The one that she threw out for Candy, the one that got me to actually laugh out loud was her about Jessica Wilde. Her pussy's so hairy every time she shaves it, PETA gets a complaint. That one I guffawed. I was laughing so hard, and I think that her timing also was just so outstanding that it was a rapid fire.
Yeah, it was rapid.
But still enough to breathe and understand the joke. And I think that is so key. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's just nailing it. There was no moment it felt like of a lack of confidence or, oh, what's my next joke? It was just so good. And I think also what she does really well is the way that she writes her jokes has multiple layers. So, the joke about oh, and it's, everybody, Ellen DeGeneres is who are haha. But then the Tilda Swinton joke on top of it, it's unexpected and it's at next level where you can continue to go with a setup you've already created, which allows you in jokes per minute to really up your number. And I think that that's what she did so well.
I totally agree. And I think that, again, that is what Joan Rivers did. That's what insult comics are good at, right? So when you think of some of the best that have been in history, like Joan Rivers, right? Or if you're thinking about even like a Bianca Del Rio who's been on the show, that's what they're good at. They can make any moment. Yeah, they might have the same jokes like over and over, but they can shift and change it for the person that they're talking to. And they can do it at a drop of a hat. So if you're going to embody Joan Rivers, the reason why she was so good at it, as was Lucy LaDuca, is that they're able to have that moment where they just got them pre-planned ahead of time, and now I can just drop it into the conversation because it makes sense here. And so in a roast situation, that's what you got to do. I love that she had intellectual jokes like the Candy Muse is such a bitch joke, but I also love that she had the little really quick ones. I'm no gynecologist, but I know a twat when I see one. Hello, Michelle Visage. Like those little quick ones too, where you're like, aha, and then you keep rolling. It's a real talent, I think, for a comic to set the pace and the tone and switch it up and have the audience laugh at every single joke.
Yeah, I think, and the way, like, to the ability to get away with it too, because some of the jokes can be very, very cutting, but just cutting enough that you're just like, okay, this is funny. Like, I'm not really offended. Like, because she was going in on all of them. So,
She was.
I think that's always key when it comes to a roast. You want to cut, but you don't want to cut too deep.
Yeah.
Let's go back and talk a little bit more about Jessica, because that was her biggest issue, right? Was that like, you're not cutting enough. Do you think, Aman, that she was able to step it up for the actual roast?
I think so. I think that there were a couple in there that were like, oh, okay. But definitely still like on the tamer side. But definitely better than what we saw in the rehearsal. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of the timing was the charisma, uniqueness, nerve, talent parts, and she cut those down, and so they were one-liners, and they were so funny that like he has the uniqueness because nobody wants to look like him. I was like, okay, that was way better than like the paragraph she said in the beginning. He has the talent to make us believe that he has talent. Like those things were so good. That was so good. And I just loved Jessica. Again, I think that she, unlike what Jimbo was able to do as Joan, where like you had a punchline and then like maybe a build up and then like 3 layers of a punchline. Like there was so many different places you didn't know when the joke was going to happen. I felt like for Jessica, Alexis, and Candy, you knew exactly when the punchline was going to happen, so you just waited for it. And I think when you have somebody who can get you to laugh at any given point, that's always going to edge you out so that the audience doesn't get too used to what this setup and punchline. Okay. And setup and punchline. That's the only negative thing that I think came out of Jessica. Because even some of her jokes, I don't, even if they were a little tamer, they were still roast enough. They weren't like, I don't know. Whereas I felt like maybe Alexis and Candy did more like sautés, as in the words of Katya, who like randomly shows up in this episode.
That was so weird and bizarre, but then I was like, it's Katya, so of course it's
this episode in general was so weird. First we have like these messages from home, and then Katya shows up for no reason, and then we've got it was weird. But I really like a lot of what Jessica did was, it seemed like she was still in the setup and then would hit you with something. So the Carson is a multifaceted artist, or at least he thinks he is, was really funny to me. And also the fact that she the way that she pronounces multifaceted took me a second to realize what she was saying. And I think that she knew those kind of things would be funny. And I really, Jessica has always been super funny. And I'm really happy that we really get to see her shine on this season. She so deserves all the love that she's getting. And I don't know if you all feel this way, but she's like my heart winner for this season. I would love nothing more to see her get crowned.
It would be
not my
fun.
winner.
No, I think also, I don't know, Aman, if you feel this way, but I think like having a queen come back from season 2 and be able to just like kill it so strongly, even though like how many, does she only have 1 win? 1 win 2 times in the bottom, I think.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel like that.
No. Yeah.
Right? It feels like she would have been the top 2, I think, in a lot of cases. Even here, I feel like this bottom placement was not necessarily warranted.
Right.
And I feel like she's been one of the narrators, the prime narrators of this season as well, which like a lot of people that like really study the edit for Drag Race will always say that the narrators of the season always make it to like right before the finale and then they're snuffed out. But she's, you know, I mean, I guess depending on what's going to happen next episode, she could end up going that same route as well. But we'll see. I mean, it's getting down to the wire, and like it's kind of hard to imagine anybody else other than Jimbo winning the season, especially now that she finally won a lip sync. Or did the outfit win it for her? I'm not really sure. I guess that's kind of up for debate, but yeah.
We will get to that for sure. Because I have thoughts.
Oh God.
To go back to the Jessica as the narrator thing, I think that that's totally true. I mean, I even wrote down a quote from her talking head, which was like, I have to roast them without attacking them, but also I'm going to attack them. Like, even just the delivery was also so good. She's just been so funny, and I'm really happy that she's getting her flowers here. And I do think that her overall performance in this episode, it really picked up, especially towards the end. The charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent bit I thought was so good. And even her closing line of, I haven't watched any of your stuff, and when I leave here, I still won't. Like, I love stuff like that. So I'm really so proud of Jessica, and I'm really happy with what she's been able to show. Let's just touch on a little bit more of Alexis and Candy. Alexis, we've really spoken about a lot. I think that we've sort of, you know, it was passable. I mean, you know, it's not bad. She cut a lot of the nothing. You know, the joke that the only one I really wrote down was, honey, nothing could make that flat ass look big. I thought that was funny. But other than that, like, I wouldn't be like, I didn't remember a lot of the actual jokes, but I think she had jokes. So
I felt like her Carson jokes were there. Then you hosted How to Look Good Naked, which you don't. That got a chuckle out of me. And then these credits, Curl, you don't have to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
I think that she put on like this character that made it seem like I'm just like easing it in a little bit. And we're just like walking on eggshells. Oh, you don't have to do this. I mean, like, that actually took away, I think, from her ability to really go in on people. And I think a few of the jokes worked because she had that persona, you know. So it was miles better than season 9. Definitely, I think, you know, she was probably the weakest for me. But you know what? Props for taking one of the worst moments in season 9 and then making it really passable here.
I think that's a fair assessment. You know, like, just like the way that she was presenting the jokes, it did feel just like a touch like tentative. And I think if she had like the tone of Candy Muse, because Candy Muse is already such an intense, I'm not going to use the word aggressive because that's kind of racially charged, but Candy does have like just the way that her voice sounds, it's just cutting. It's very cutting. And I think that aids sometimes with a roast, because then you're like, oh, she's talking shit. You know what I mean? As opposed to someone like Michelle, or Alexis rather, where it's like just a little bit, you just give me a little bit more oomph, give me a little bit more fire to it. You know what I mean? So I think that's fair. And I think that's probably why, because I don't think that a lot of Candy's jokes were that great either. I mean, she definitely had a few more zingers than Alexis did, for sure. But I think that the way that she delivered it also made it feel a little bit more biting than it may have actually been.
It's just a vibe. Like, Candy's felt like more of a roast. Like, it just felt like, oh yeah, she's going for it.
She's
even though
going in, yeah.
I mean, one of the jokes for her was, you know, I love ketamine. He loves horses. Like, it's not really a roast of. That's not like a roast joke, but I was like, okay, yeah, it fits with the vibe. The one I really liked from her, I hope one day I can recognize one of her hit songs about Michelle. I thought that was pretty funny.
One of her many hit songs.
One of her many hit song. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But that's the thing, though. That's already been said on the show. That's like not funny to me anymore, because somebody else on like season 7 of
it's definitely been said, at least in so many ways, at least like 3 or 4 times.
I actually didn't think Candy had a single good joke. Period. Like, I did not laugh at her at all. I laughed at the presentation of it. Like, she turns to the side and makes a capital P, all titties and no ass. And I was like, that had potential. But it also like didn't make sense.
That's a Wendy Williams joke.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. A lot of these, like, even though I'm sure like Jimbo was absolutely like recycling things that Joan would have said. I think the reason why she chose to do Joan was because she was like, I have them permission almost to say these kind of things because Joan would have said them, right?
Mhm.
I don't know. I think in the one case, on the one hand, I want to give Jimbo all the love for doing that. On the other hand, I feel like the other three were like at least themselves trying to roast other people. And I think that when you put on the persona that you know you're good at, that you've already gotten roses for on a show, and do it again, she did it great. But I also want to give props to the people who tried it without having to give themselves permission to say jokes through another persona. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you guys?
Well, that was what was discussed kind of at the beginning of the episode after, they get the prompt for the Maxi challenge. And I can't remember who said it, but one of the queens said, I think it was Jessica. It was like, this is the difference between Snatch Game and a roast, is that with Snatch Game, you're embodying this character, and, here you're going to be yourself. And then Jimbo's like, I'm going to do a character. And I do feel like that's a strategic decision on Jimbo's part, because not everybody watched the first season of Canada's Drag Race. Ru probably didn't watch the first season of Canada's Drag Race, right? And so this allows Jimbo to take what's in his wheelhouse and then be able to use it, again, and really make a strong impact. Because I think if you're Jimbo, you're like, this is my season to win. I'm pulling out all the stops in order to put the nail in the coffin to ensure that there's almost no question about who is going to win this season.
Right.
I mean, that's what I would do if I were Jimbo and was being strategic. And I think that that's what she's got to be thinking.
Totally. Yeah. And I guess what I was trying to get at is that, like, with Candy, we already know that, I mean, Candy plays Candy all the time. Right. And so I think the reason why the jokes didn't work for me was because I just kind of expected, oh, here's Candy doing what she always does. Right. And with Jimbo, one second, sorry, I knew I was gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you. I was like, oh, now it's happening. With Jimbo, you never know what's gonna happen, but as soon as she said she's gonna do something that she's already done before, I was like, oh, okay, then I know what's gonna happen here, right? So I think then also the fact that she just replicates the thing that set her apart in front of RuPaul last time she was on the show. Like, this whole episode was Jimbo wins because of things she's done in the past and replicated. Like, that's what it felt like to me. Both the lip sync and the challenge, right? Which I'm not trying to take that away from her. I'm just trying to say that, like, when you look at Alexis, Jessica, and Candy, who are trying to do the roast in the way that they would normally do it, when you compare it to somebody else who's like, I normally wouldn't probably be able to get away with saying this joke, but because I'm Joan Rivers, I will. Like, I think that's absolutely strategic, and I love that she thought about it that way. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, so you're going to win for doing two things you've already done on two different franchises of the show before.
I mean, it just harkens back to that article that pissed off Candy and a lot of the other queens from the season about, like, oh, Jimbo is the true winner of the season, and all the other girls are just trying to catch up, but they're never going to be able to, whatever the hell that article said. I just think it's, it's just, once again, I mean, we've seen it on so many of the seasons now, especially All-Stars, where there's just clearly 1 to 2 people that are going to be just on it the entire time. And the rest of the queens are either ones that you absolutely love that got cut short, so you really don't have much to go off of, or ones that RuPaul likes but probably will never get the crown. And then absolute wild cards where you're just like, okay, let's see what you got. And more often than not, the front runners that you expect always make it to the end. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's more than one Jimbo, you know what I mean, in this franchise. I feel like there's more than one person, a queen that's going to be on it. And so I just wonder what that kind of season looks like when you have more of those people to sort of.
It's called All-Stars 2. Yeah. I mean, seriously, the reason I think what has ruined this idea of All-Stars is the idea that all of a sudden they switched to Viacom and they were like, okay, you're going to go to VH1 or MTV. We have to have so many seasons. And rather than cast new queens all the time and do 2 seasons a year, let's have an All-Star season. And it is, and we all know this. It's like, instead of All-Stars, it's Some Stars, right? And I am fine with that because I love seeing queens return regardless of how they did. But I agree with you, Aman. I hate having an expectation from the time the cast is announced to the finale of who's going to win and not be ever proven wrong.
I feel
Which is
like
why I
also
love Jessica on this season, because I think a lot of
right.
people would have written her off as somebody, oh, she was on season 2. Arguably, if you put season 2 queens against current queens, you know, it was a very different show back then, very different drag, whole 9 yards. But like, it's incredible to see like Jessica has done nothing but be herself the entire time, and like has crushed it.
Yeah. And I think, that's sort of like, as we were talking about Jimbo and, whether or not she's going to be able to get away with being Joan Rivers. I mean, for first, we've already seen her do it, so we know. And secondly, we know that, she hasn't, like, the only chink in the armor that we've really gotten for her is the lip syncing thing. So I just feel like there really isn't much intrigue as to whether or not she's going to succeed half the time. But it feels, once again, like it's manufactured, but it is what it is. It is a TV show first and a competition second, so that's fine. But yeah, the more All-Star seasons that we get, the more I'm like, okay, well, let's see who's going to be the front runner this time. That's why I enjoyed. I mean, obviously, All-Stars 2 is the benchmark, but I kind of enjoyed All-Star 6 too when the cash got dropped, because there were so many. You got Ginger Minj, you got Silky Nutmeg Ganache, you got, who else is on that season? You got
Trinity K.
Raja,
Bonet.
Trinity K. Bonet, Akira C. Davenport,
So
like
Kylie,
Eureka, like so many people that were like that did really, really well on their season and
Mhm.
have many, many, many strong suits. So it's just like, ooh, what's gonna happen? You know what I mean? So
and then
yeah.
the person who you didn't put in that lineup is the one who wins it. And that's why I think it's so unique and fun, is like, I personally was going in being like, I know that the chink in Ginger Minj's armor is the runway. But I continue to think Ginger Minj, in my opinion, is one of the top 5 queens to never take the crown. And then you have Kylie, who comes out of nowhere and just crushes the competition and wins, right? And so I love that season for that reason. We have not gotten that with this season.
I don't know. This season, I felt like there was no strong front runner, because Jimbo's last showing was when she was eliminated 3rd. Like, she went out 3rd on UK versus the World, and I feel like that gets lost because, yes, she made it to the 4th place slot in her first season of Canada, but it's not like Jimbo came in as this huge dominating force who's definitely gonna win the season. I feel like this season, the narrative at the beginning was kind of like, okay, like, let's see. I don't know. Like, I mean, even Lala Ree. I mean, you think about like like Lala Ree's known for being a big personality, but it's not like everybody was like, oh my God, yes, she's so talented. I feel like Heidi in Closet was the front runner. And then it was like, what, Candy? Right. So that's why, like, I'm kind of happy seeing this. I don't know. I guess I just don't feel so much of that narrative of like, there's definitely front runners. I think for me, there were definitely people that felt like they could get eliminated early.
And then did.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So maybe that was more
Lopez,
of the case.
man.
but even then, I was like, maybe there's an outside chance that some of these queens can come back and go deep. Like, I didn't have that same feeling. I think now, having Jimbo have 4 wins, no time in the bottom, this feels now very decisive. That okay, now we sort of put this mark on who potentially could win the season. Now, the end game, I have no idea what this is going to look like, because we've never had this situation before where we've gone down to a top 3 and now, I guess, down to a top 2, because next week we're getting a makeover challenge. So it didn't feel like the finale. Oh my God, it was so funny. Alexis Michelle and Untucked is like, I was 1 episode away. Like, I was so close to the finale, and I was like, I don't think it's the finale.
But they're all thinking it, which is so funny to me. That and not in like a haha way, but like in a, like, I would be doing the same thing, right? Like, or I was like, all right, we made it to top 4, we made it to the finale, high five. Oh nope, made it to top 3, made it to the finale, high five. Oh nope, all right.
I know. I know that there's content of the queens talking about the format. I want to see those
release
clips.
The footage.
Yeah, because usually like RuPaul will say like, congratulations, you're a finalist or some shit like that if it actually is coming up to the finale, and she didn't say that. So it is interesting to think that they that's where their minds go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I take what you're saying, Liana. I don't think that this season is anywhere near as predictable as season 5 was. Right. We just knew what the hell was going to happen. Like that was just it was what it was. And then with season 7, I mean, we know. That was great. But yeah, I do think for me, it did seem like once Heidi left, that was kind of it for me. I was like, okay, well, this is gonna be who's going to take Jimbo out, and if she doesn't go out, then she wins, and she she deserves to win. No one can really take any of the stuff away from her that she's done this season. And I do think that she does have a pretty interesting trajectory, because you're right, like it wasn't like Jimbo was like this huge force. I think that she became a huge force during Canada versus the World. I think, especially in the way that she went out, a lot of people were like, "Oh no, not Jimbo!" So she gets to have this redemption story, which I think is always fun to see on Drag Race. So
I think a lot of the time too, I don't think about queens necessarily only in regards to what they did on Drag Race before. I often think about like, what's the momentum of them coming in from what they've been doing, how big they are off the show. Jimbo was definitely one of the most like talked about queens who's had a glow up in just the past 3 years of every single time she's come out. We know that RuPaul thinks she's funny. Her elimination was shocking in UK versus the World. It wasn't like she clearly was the person who should have gone home, right? And I think that there was a lot of those factors versus you didn't have somebody that was like Alaska coming back, right? Where you sat back and went, oh, this is somebody who legitimately could have won the crown and made it all the way to the end. We didn't really have that this season. We had a lot of people who made it to that 5th spot. I mean, Candy, I guess, made it towards the end, and RuPaul really likes her. But Candy also like fully was eliminated, and RuPaul was like, actually, I don't want you to go. Why don't you stay? And we're like, what was that about? So I
love Candy, but when she changed her Twitter name to Candy Top 2 Muse, I was like,
yeah. I'm fine with that. You better feel your oats on that.
I mean, talk your shit, but I'm just like,
but I don't know. I feel like this season, they were like, here's a whole bunch of early outs, and a lot of them went home early. And then you had someone like Darian who throughout
Darian is
the
shocking one for me this season, because she was one of the ones that I was like, oh my god, Darian's gonna smash it. And not that she didn't smash it, but I was shocked that she went home as early as she did. I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy to me. But
and she was in the bottom so much in the beginning of this before she went home. And I that's not actually that shocking. She's always struggled on like the runway and such, but I really wish that we could have heard a Darian verse in a roast. I really wish we could have seen something like that. Also, where the hell is the reading challenge for this season? Is this going to be what this whatever bonus season episode is going to be or whatever? Like, it better be an hour-long reading challenge. No, I'm just kidding. Please do not do that. We know it would be awful.
I think they talked about it at Roscoe's either this past week or the one before, and I think they said, or maybe I'm cross because I've watched a lot of Roscoe's clips over the past couple of days, so I might be crossing wires here. But I think one of the queens said that they just didn't do it this season. Like it wasn't like it was like lost or not put in the edit. They just didn't do it at all. So
why?
Very strange. Not sure
why. Was
it
because they cast people that people were like, well, I don't know what to say about Monica Beverly Hills.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it was Heidi.
Which is a read itself. I bet.
I think Heidi was at Roscoe's and she was like, yeah, like because she was like, I knew who was going to be on the cast, so I was ready. The first episode, I had my reads ready, and it just never happened. So
that's crazy.
All right. Well, this is definitely a season of firsts because next week is going to be, I mean, we'll go back and talk about the looks and the lip sync and all that. But like the next week is going to be the top 3 to top 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess we just have the finale after that. So we're going to have a top 2 for the finale. Because isn't it the 4th? No. When do you start voting?
The 14th.
You start voting on the 14th?
Yeah.
Voting opens.
And then the 21st is the finale. So there's an episode in there that what's happening there? I don't know.
It has to be something to do with the fame games. It has to
I have to imagine it is.
Maybe like re-showing all the looks or something like that.
I imagine maybe it's a re-showing the looks. Maybe it's a little package they all had to put together themselves or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they all maybe it's a re-showing, and then they all the eliminated queens come back and they do like one challenge together or whatever to like help give them a boost to
boost visibility or something.
Right.
I would love for it to be a reunion.
Yeah, I would love a reunion as well.
If it's half reunion, half fan game, I'm there for it. Let's do it.
I mean, yeah, you could definitely kill 2 birds with one stone with that. Like if you're gonna bring them all back anyway, then might as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, who knows what the future holds?
Well, this production group here has come up with what it should be.
Okay, we've made the executive decision of what it should be. You're welcome.
But then it's like, if the finale is just the top two, that's like a lot of airtime for those two queens. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
Do you think
unless
they're gonna do a song, like a music video, which is the two of them?
just because that's weird. Like,
I don't know.
maybe it's not. Maybe it's a non-elimination and everyone stays and it's just a final three. Like, like
maybe.
I took way too big of a sip, and then the way that you said that was like, "Do you think it's going to be a song? A song?" And I was like, "Oh no, I'm about to drown live on camera." Here we are.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
as always.
All right, not a liquid, but a solid. Let's talk about snow. I don't know. Look, there was a transition there in my brain. Let's talk about the runway look. Snow Bunny is the theme. Let's just quickly go through the looks. We only have 4 queens, so I figure like we can talk about them. Alexis Michelle with her overnight bag. I love this hair. I love the look. I think she looks really cute. I don't like see this and immediately think Snow Bunny. I think like sleeping cap. Like
I
I
think this is Link being yassified. This is absolutely Link from Legend of Zelda. When she put down the cap, it was just dragging. I was like, okay, I've been playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom, apparently.
It kind of gives me a little bit of like Whoville, one of their weird looking hats kind of tees.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, I could see that. I guess like she's staying overnight. Like
at the Grinch's house.
Yeah, not staying overnight at the Grinch's house. Yeah, I think the queen who, to me, like really hit the nail on the head when it came to the Snow Bunny look was Jessica Wilde. I think she. Oh, you know what we didn't talk about was Thom Felicia. Is that the guy's name who was also on Queer Eye?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Was Jackie Wood from RuPaul's Secret Celebrity Drag Race. That was weird.
I think the reason why they did that was so that if they didn't know who Tom was, they didn't have to roast him. And then he's a guest judge. I think that's why.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Or maybe like they were trying to get the promo for RuPaul's Secret Celebrity Drag Race as the crossover. But it was so weird to have him go after Jimbo because Jimbo just like crushed it. And then it was like, okay, one more. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like he should have they should have surprised Carson with him first, then had him join the judging panel, then do the roast.
Yeah.
It was fine. Like I wasn't mad at it, and I thought he did well. It just felt like out of place. So I guess maybe this was like the out of place episode, as we talked about with Katya just showing up, not giving advice for the roast, and just like I guess trying to start drama.
Like the way she entered, she's like, "Has anyone seen my daughter?" I'm like, "What is going on?"
I think, quite frankly, the whole point of that was to try to get the stir up stuff so that girls would have more stuff for their roasts. Like I thought that maybe that's what they were trying to do, was like, okay, like before you go on or whatever. But there was no point other than to be like, okay, let's have Katya come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Because she's
that would have been good. Stir up some stuff for the roast and also like stir up drama for the elimination to get people to second guess who their allies are. That would have been great.
That would have been great.
Wait, did they have a roast on season 7?
No.
What about us?
They did not. They had a lot of acting, but not a roast.
Okay.
Acting was very in parentheses there.
Anyway, Jessica Wilde looks stunning.
Yeah. I like her look. She definitely embodies more of like what I think of as Snow Bunny, as aside from the racially term for white women.
See, when I hear Snow Bunny, I think like Coke.
Well, that was what Darian Lake did for her Fame Games, or like her episode. Because I was like, are those razor blades? I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was so genius. I was like, I love Darian. Darian will always do I thought she's done a great job because, again, she brings camp. It's not necessarily like the most fashion forward thing, but she brings like a level of camp to it that I just have been loving.
And a lot of unexpected, which has been really fun, I think, for her. I think, and I've seen some campaigning for her to be the winner of the queen of the Fame Games.
I would
or
not be
whatever
mad
it is.
at it. She also said a tweet a while ago that had nothing to do with Drag Race or anything. She said, "Excuse me, if you are waiting to go through like a turnstile, don't stop right after you get through the turnstile and look at your phone. Or like if you get to the top of the escalator, don't stop, move." And I was like, this tweet alone is what got me to vote for you for the Fame Game. Like, I am so sick of being in New York City where some bitch goes through the turnstile and then goes, "All right, let me just stand here for a while." No, I need to get through. Move. And I'm too nice to say move, bitch, but I'll do it here on the podcast.
Ooh, bitch,
Get out the way.
Oh, man.
Candy's look, I'm actually kind of surprised she didn't get red more for this, especially for the boots. I don't know, maybe because she stoned them. I just kind of expected her to get red for this, but she didn't. So
I mean, it's giving a little bit of ski, slopey type deal, but yeah, we've seen this from Candy, a nice bra action going on, like a little snatch at the waist and some panties. And then sometimes a little fur on top, just to give it something, to give it a little zhuzh. Yeah,
a little winter vibe. I'm with you, Aman, and I'm with you, Liana. I was like, okay, those boots are gonna get her red. Nope, they didn't get red. Okay,
right.
We've seen this kind of outfit. She constructed this kind of outfit in the first construction challenge. It's not that she looks bad; she looks gorgeous, and I love a bigger, fuller queen doing a look like this, because I'll tell you what, as someone with curves and swerves and stuff, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I have had much more confidence to wear things not like that. I've not worn this, but like to wear, like, oh, I'll wear a crop top moment, or I'll wear a two-piece, something like that. And I love that. And thank you all so much who do the show to help give me the confidence for that. But that again, I've seen this from Candy, and I wasn't necessarily blown away.
It's like I love that stuff too, and I love that as of late, a lot of the bigger queens on the show have been having like a bit of a revolution, if you will. But I think that we've seen a lot of bigger queens have such a variety of looks now that it's like I think that Candy knows that she looks good in this. Yeah. So she's just very comfortable with it, and it's like, okay, girl, like you do look good, but come up with something else. There's other stuff that you're going to look good in. I know that there is. So come on now.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the variety. That's the biggest thing, because I think we've seen this sort of concept and structure a lot. Anyway. Yeah. And then last, but certainly not least, is Jimbo looking like an inside out chicken. Hold on. Let me pull that up real quick. All right.
I'm confused by this one in the sense that I both like it and I also don't know if I like it.
Okay.
I like it as a look completely, but I don't get Snow Bunny, but I also get the vibe of what she's trying to go for. And
it's
then
like
Carson
abominable
was like,
chicken. Like I don't.
Yeah, I literally I wrote chicken feathers look good, but also confusing. What's my note for this?
I wanted Candy to have a talking head and harken back to the Joey J moment of like, not the chicken feathers.
Oh man.
I similarly like had a reaction to this of like, do I love this or hate this? Like because there kind of was no in between. Like I loved the way it moved, but then when I looked at it, I was like, what am I looking at? And why do I hate, like, I think I hate the hair because her little pinhead on top of like the big chicken, like I wanted more. Like I get why you're not going to do a big wig, because you kind of don't want to like suffocate yourself. Maybe like a headpiece of the chicken feathers like coming up or something, because it looks like weirdly unbalanced, but also I loved the way it moved, but also I hated it. So I don't know. I just don't know how to feel about this. It's
the only reason that
confusing.
The only reason I think it qualifies is because it's white. You know what I mean? But it doesn't really give. It doesn't give snow. It just gives white chicken.
See, I can see it a little, like, I can't remember which judge said it, but it was like giving a little bit of like snow squall of like this very fast moving like hit of snow, like just like I could see that. I could see that.
I feel like if she had, instead of the chicken feathers, you can have like a little piece of plastic that juts the thing out, but instead of the feathers being on the end, I would have done like either cotton balls or like those little furry little balls that you would use in like arts and crafts that were like multicolored, but like it just used all of the white ones. And that way it still moves, but they're balls as opposed to
But I don't know if they would have done the same movement though. And I think the movement is what makes it feel like because I agreed with that comment. And that's exactly why I was like, that's the only thing to me that's really hearkening snow. Because I've spent many a time in snow. And I've been caught in many a snowstorm. And it did kind of move in those like, you know, when the wind's really picking up all over the place, like a little like tunnel kind of thing. And I loved that. But I don't know. I think it was like, oh, from the far out movements, it looks great. And as soon as they zoomed in, I was like, I don't know.
Chicken feathers.
But I also think anybody who's going to make us have a conversation like this on the runway where we're like, I don't know if I like it or not, like that's also props. Like we're talking about it.
I think her makeup looks stunning also. When she was having the talks in Untucked, I was like, oh my gosh, this looks so good.
Yeah.
Liana, you mentioned this earlier. We're not talking enough about, granted, she's had some work done too, but like how much better her paint is from season 1 of Canada to here we are now. Like her ability to paint is just absolutely gorgeous now. The
blending like looks so much better now than it did. Yeah. I mean, even that's why I said like the Joan Rivers look, the paint that she had for the Untucked Snatch Game versus like what she had on the main stage, I think already like was just such an improvement, like to directly compare like the same look essentially that she was going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why when we talk about who potentially could ultimately win this season, I see Jimbo as the winner. I see Jessica as the clear second place. And
yeah, me too.
I'm really hoping that next week, because I just feel like if Candy's in the top 2, then I just feel like it's such a more foregone conclusion. Like I would love to see a Jessica v Jimbo. Like even if Jessica doesn't win and they still give it to Jimbo, I'm like, I don't know. My heart would rather have Jessica in the top 2 slot.
Because Candy get into the top 2 again and then lose.
Although that could be funny.
She'll be the new Raven.
Yeah. Or Raven. Yeah. Let's talk about our one last thing, which is the lip sync. Okay, so we've been mentioning this. Who wants to kick things off?
I feel like I've already said my piece. I'm sorry.
Right, Aman, give me your feelings. Uh-oh.
There are some things that you only need to see once. Okay. And when she pulled this fucking ditty out during UK versus the world, I was like, okay, I feel like I need nothing more from this. And then she pulls it out again. And I guess we should have seen it coming because she definitely had baloney like 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
So that was her warning.
About that. Yeah.
That shit was coming. Okay. And I just don't like that she put the lipstick in her baloney cooch. I hate the way that it looks. She's like pregnant in both her ass and her tummy. Her head looks crazy. The makeup is crazy. It is just so ghastly and otherworldly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just makes me feel uncomfortable. And I hate that is how she won.
Mine was just the principle of the matter, which was like, we've already seen this. And she already won for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was my only issue with it. Mm-hmm. But again, the song was Freakazoid. So I kind of feel like it was the best possible thing to do with it.
Oh, it's just every time I see it in my head and I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
I think we should bring it up on the screen.
No. I will close my laptop. I just hate the way that I hate the proportions of it. It just makes me feel uncomfortable. Like I just.
Okay, so Aman, close your eyes for a second. Okay. The moment when Silky just like stops and looks at Jimbo taking the bologna out of her coochie, that moment, like, okay, here's the thing. I totally get where the two of you are coming from, but I love this. I don't care. It always makes me laugh. It's so weird. It's so bizarre. Like, who thinks of this? All right, Aman, you can come back now. Like, I just, from the moment Jimbo came out in UK versus the World, bopping with all the other queens, and Jimbo's just like in this weird outfit. I don't know. I was taken. I was smitten. Like, it's so weird. I cannot articulate it to anyone else why it brings me so much joy, but to me, it does. It's like the antithesis of bizarre and weird. And to be on a show that really prioritizes a specific type of drag that is like full glam, pageant, iconic, like a little bit of camp, but still gotta be glam. This is just weird and dirty and bizarre. And I think that that's what makes me so happy. And this really was Jimbo's greatest hits, from Joan Rivers to Casper the Baloney Ghost. I just think that I don't mind her playing those hits because to me, I'm still intrigued by them. But Aman, I can understand your visceral gut reaction because it is so weird.
I did wonder if she had the bologna this time or not, because I don't remember her taking it out of the Belucci last time. But I feel like that was a nice added. Like you said, when Silky stopped and looked at her, I was like, well, I mean, like from the moment we knew, I'm going to say, like from the moment we saw her walk out on stage, I was like, if Jimbo doesn't win in this, there's no way she wins a lip sync ever. Period.
Right, exactly. Yes, because that was the whole thing. It was like, and I said this about the Shirley Temple lip sync, that she should have been Shirley Temple for the lip sync. Like, lean into that. Be weird, because you're not going to win if you try to do, you know, what a lot of the other queens do with glam. Like, Jimbo didn't fall over because Jimbo's wearing flats. All right. That's why we didn't see Jimbo trip. Like, Jimbo's wearing flats here. I get that. I think especially the juxtaposition of Silky trying to be like serious and doing this, and Jimbo just being not just comedy, but like
an actual freakazoid.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. I think that really helped. And I think it made Silky look weird by comparison, which is such a bizarre thing to say. But like, Silky looked like the weird one trying to be legitimately serious, with Jimbo just being as bizarre as possible. But anyway.
It scares me. I feel like if I saw this in real life, I would be very, very afraid.
Sleep paralysis demon.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
She can go on Dragula with that next.
Honestly.
Anything else that y'all want to say about this episode? Predictions for next week? As we said, makeover challenge coming up. I don't know. Jimbo, I think, will do okay. I think Jimbo will still be fine. I think the question is we've seen Candy do well in a design challenge. We've seen Jessica win a design challenge. So
it's about who can you put your paint on somebody else at the end of the day, right? And I feel, I don't know, it's going to be really interesting. Like, if Jimbo doesn't win this, do the queens take a shot at Jimbo right beforehand?
No. That ship has sailed. I think at this point, like they should, but they're not going to. I think if Jimbo's in the bottom, there's just going to be too much of a pressure of like, I don't want the fans to absolutely hate me for taking out the front runner. So I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and take Jimbo. And she also has the narrative of already being sent home prematurely last time. So it's just like, there's just so much going against them that I feel like which is unfortunate, because like I feel like you just take the damn shot. But no, I think
I'm sorry.
To the end.
I think it's just the times that we're in, but $100,000 not worth the hate you'd get from that.
Yeah,
like we got to up the prize limit here. RuPaul's Drag Race. Think about how many franchises y'all have, how many Wow Presents things you've got going on, how many.
That's why the prize money is so low, because we're spreading it out.
I know. And I'm like, listen, people, get with the times, because $100,000 can be made by a drag queen working after the platform of the show on, you know what I mean? Like, so it's not like in one shot, but like, well, some of them maybe.
Some of them, yeah.
Some of them will. But I don't know. I feel like they all, maybe not Jessica, but I'm sure that Jimbo and Candy have gotten their share of internet hate from decisions or things that they've said on more recent seasons. And I'm sure that they're like, you know what? I'd rather have a peace of mind and have the fans on my side. Because at the end of the day, this is not like a Big Brother or Survivor where screw them, I'm winning $1 million. I don't care what the fans say. They can say what they want, whatever. I'm $1 million richer. And I go off with my life. That is not something that depends on fans. But this is a show that depends on fans.
Totally.
So
I also don't know how it's going to work for the voting. I said this last week, but they figured it out with having all three in the bottom, although you guys could still have a tie, but whatever. So I don't know how next week is going to work with 3 people because one person's going to win and then the other 2 are going to vote for each other. So
yeah, it just comes down to whoever wins gets the final say so.
Yeah, I guess so. So then what happens if they lose to lip sync? Whatever. I don't know. It's too much thinking. I'm just going to let the show tell me how it all works. And we will be talking about all of that next week. Episode 10. All right. Whew. I'm exhausted just thinking about how
You know what I could see happening actually? Like I could see total Jimbo's in the bottom, right?
Okay.
And whoever's in the bottom next to her, whether it be Candy or Jessica, will obviously vote for her. She will vote for them. Whoever is wins is going to lose the lip sync. And then RuPaul's going to be like, well, since you guys voted for each other, there's no clear consensus, therefore the power lies with me. And then she saves Jimbo.
That's they always vote for. I mean, I could totally see that, but then I'm like, but they're always gonna vote for each other. So, but I don't know. Who knows? Whatever. All right, that does it for us. Aman, where can people find you on social media if they want to use one of their 600, I think up to 1,000 now, tweets a day to view what you've got going on?
You can follow me everywhere at Aman Adwin, baby. Still here, just kicking it with the Drag Race crew. There's lots of RHAP content for the pre-BB season. I was a part of the Survivor branch still. That was lots of fun. So check that out, as was Liana. So yeah, that's about it for now.
Beth, what about you?
You can follow me at AugustaWind11, and I will consider that a huge compliment if you decide to add me to your feed for your 600,000 whatever tweets a day. That's incredible. Thank you. I'm excited to join Kevin and Nigel on You Thought You Knew this week, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Ozzy and if Ozzy is one of the greatest non-winners of all time or not.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Liana RHAP. Also, just covering Drag Race for now, living my All-Stars fantasy. Thank you to everybody. If you have left a star rating or a review, if you'd like to join those who have, you can go to robhasawebsite.com/drag race to do so. Also, a big thank you to the whole RHAP team for all their help behind the scenes. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.